Ashama harka fuuni daawwattoota keenyaa kun daawwachaatti kan jirtan tamsaasa kallattiin isiniif darbaatti kan jiru Oromoo Diiyaasporaa Miidiyaadha. Guyyaa har'aa keessummoota qabaa. Keessummoota koo waliin namni turtii waliin taasisaatti jiru ripireezentaatiivii kan ta'anii obbo Mohammed Noor haaluma wal fakkaatuun immoo obbo Tashite Wakoodha. Egaan marii keenya kan nuyi gochuudhaaf jirru afaan Ingiliffaadhaan goona. Gara dhumaarratti garuu qabiyyeen dubbii keenyaa maal akka ta'e immoo gabaabsinee kan isinitti himu ta'a. Egaa qophicha qopheessuudhaan kan isin waliin turuu an itichaa guddataati obbo Tashite Wako haaluma wal fakkaatuun immoo ripireezentaatiivii isteeta asii kan ta'e Mohammed Noor afaan Ingiliffaadhaan dubbachuudhaaf dirqamna. Isa booda kallattiidhaan haalli irratti fuulleffannu keessumaa tibba kana dhimma rizooluushinii bahee irratti illee ni dubbanna. Sana qofallee otoo hin taane namoonni jiruu baqaadhaan biyya bakkee jiran maal gochuu qabna kan jedhu irrattis dhaamsa guddaa qabu. Keessummaan keenya obbo Tashite illee jechuudha. Turtiin keessan waliin haa ta'u. Hello, our viewers. This is our special program. We have a special guest today, representative of the state of Minnesota, Mohammed Noor. At the same time, we have Mr-Tashite Wako today on our program. We mainly focusing on the role of diaspora, especially as East African, what we are going to do in the state we are living, and we are going to discuss this and the others, and the role of diaspora in back on politics as well, directly or indirectly, and also we are focusing about the new resolution, which is stated according to the state of Minnesota and as a representative of House of Senate here in Minnesota. And we are going to discuss this and the others. Before we proceed to our discussion, I would like to give you an opportunity, Representative Mohammed Noor. Can you greet our our audience?
Thank you so much, teacher, and also ODM. I'm honored to be with you today. My name is Mohammed Noor. I'm a state representative in the state of Minnesota. I represent District 60B, that is in Minneapolis, Cedar Riverside, Seward neighborhood, University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities section of Minneapolis, Prospect Park, Nicollet Island, Como area. So as a state representative, we do have a role to represent you at the state capitol, but also advocate for things that impact all of us as Minnesotans. So I'm honored to be representing a significant number of immigrant community in that area, which includes Oromo, Somalis, and others who live in the district that I represent. As a state representative, we write the laws, we decide things in terms of what's happening in our state. We create opportunities in healthcare, in education, in farming, in every level of the life of individuals who live in the state of Minnesota. So those are things that we do at the state capitol. I'm one of 134 state elected officials. This is one of the honor to be there to represent your voices. So I appreciate being with you tonight and someone who has been in politics, encouraging others to be in politics, making sure that we do have a voice at the table. And if there is no chair at the table, what I usually say is bring your own chair so that you can contribute and also be able to serve the communities that we represent. So thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you, Representative Mohammed Noor. Mr. Tashite, can you say hi to everybody?
Akkam ooltanii obbootichaa fi akkasumas maamiltoonni asirratti argamtanii guyyaadhaa asirratti noofeeruu keessanii baay'ee galatooma isin jenna obbootichaa akkasumas maamiltoonni ODM hundinuu ani maqaan kiyya Tashite Wako jedhama as magaalaa Brooklyn Park jiraadha. Brooklyn Park keessatti commissioner budget commissioner ta'ee city kana keessatti hojjedha. Akkasumas ammoo kanaan dura akkuma namni baay'een beeku waldaa hawaasa Oromoo keessatti sadarkaa adda addaatitti waggootii dheeraa fi dalagaatiin ture. Kanaaf guyyaadhaa asirratti argamnee yeroo filannoon adeemu yeroo rakkoolee kanan jenne keessa Oromoon deebi'eetiin yeroo biraati keessa jiru kana irratti asirratti ofeeruu keessaniif galata guddaa qabdan jedha. Kanaaf baay'ee galatooma.
All right. Daawwattoota keenya egaa kallattiidhaan akkuma isiniin jedhee afaan wal keessa mammakuuni mallaa. Our viewers, directly I'm going to invite you a given host which is already by our singer and our hero who is passed away by Hachalu Hundeessaa, which he performed here in Minnesota. So let's listen to that one and we'll stay back. jira goda shukute jira goda kalbu ko jira goda male ko jira goda marar ke jira goda arsi ko jira dogra male ko jira goda ka yena alo malangira talo malangira mera nathi jole jole bane rapa gurpa kane rapa akawan dole rochi suna suman dan denge akani na dole odra ko na chulat apne pachane kar kar bane dinam sacha kane makani pa goa chore kuno karalle dole kuno karalle dole iya jole bane rapa gurpa kane rapa Ketika dopini sama tasya kata bu ketika dopau na percaya kumina ketika dopau dari dunia celaka tinggal sayo ibu nama karan seperti kamu akhirnya syukur Saatnya sibuk berkadian itu makhluk macam perabila Nunggal judi dan malik Yupin pikir saat kalah macam ini daerah kisah di mana nunggu faktayajan Raku maaf ture malik Raku maaf ture malik Kamaleko kamaliti Amaleko kamaliti ashe bukura utar tuan bicingi kiti galam Bebunar buduran utoinu Dini bono dangale Alaya magoi Danganya margamu Unsusna bitane Rodo di namate Nambaranatau Sure di maram nunte Ti apatu waranata Sure di maram nunte Tapatu waranata Uro ke ofiti gufte Tapatu tatapata Apatu tatapata Yoyan tun namanya Mansata adilanu Yano matunale Ijole Akashi namunyare Biyena jisumale Yosef turamani Gama soda tamani Randa kama Wako.We Ni panti bakak sukoti Hello, our viewers. Directly we proceed to our today's discussion. As I mentioned previously, we have a special guest today, representing Mohammed Noor, at the same time Mr-Tashite Wako. We are going to mainly focusing on the issues at back home, at the same time here in Minnesota as an immigrant. There are issues we are going to discuss as we try to mention before. The role of diaspora, especially in politics, in economic, in academic, and in other aspects. So our main target today, we are focusing. The first one is about the resolution this week announced by the Senate and the House. At the same time, we are talking about that one, and also about COVID-19, which is a pandemic virus and a disease for the entire world, including us here. So at the same time, we are focusing about census 2020 as Oromo. We are expected to be counted. When you counted, we should be counted as Oromo or as Ethiopian, because there is a kind of scenario on that one. But we are focusing on this one. Not only that one, there is a coming election which is taking place here in Minnesota and in the entire America, and we are focusing this and the others. Before we proceed to our discussion, Representative Mohammed Noor, I would like to ask you your feeling about the passing or the days of our icon singer Hachalu Hundessa. And next, I would like to ask you, you guys, as House Representative, you guys released a press release, a given resolution about that and the others. So can you say something about that?
Thank you so much, teacher. And I think to reflect back, Hachalu Hundessa was taken from us at a very young age. He did not deserve to die the way he did. His powerful voice, the need for us to stand up for justice, the need for us to stand up for freedom of speech, the need for us to stand for freedom and against injustice anywhere is something that I think I believe in and we all should stand for. As part of the pain and the agony and the challenges that are happening back home in Ethiopia, in Oromia, the death of Hachalu triggered a significant trauma, which has been ongoing for a long time. And to reflect back with the response from the Ethiopian government in terms of arresting the civil rights, the champions for the Oromo community, the political leaders, as a way to justify is not acceptable. And quite frankly, the resolution that you just addressed that has been introduced by the Senate is to send a strong message saying that we as Minnesotans stand with the Oromo community as they go through this challenge. Given the circumstances that have happened already on the ground, when it comes to the freedom of association, freedom of speech, when it comes to our democratic values, is to have a process where everybody is welcome and included. We can solve our challenges through dialogue and conversation. We can't take our eye off from the main goal of human rights, the abuses that are going on. We're also dealing with COVID-19, with so many jails, with so many people who have been jailed, with so many people who have been killed, making sure that there's a freedom of journalism, that the protection under the law based on those rights, the basic human rights should be protected by anyone, no matter where you are, whether you're in Ethiopia, whether you're in Minnesota, whether you are anywhere in this world. So this resolution stands for making sure that the rights of individuals are protected. For those who are right now in detention or in custody, should be brought before justice, whereby justice should be served in the right way, not to be used for individual gains, not to be used to abuse others, just to make sure that it empowers the communities, making sure that people understand what they're fighting for. They're fighting to be recognized, they're fighting to be included, they're fighting to have a piece of the pie by ensuring that their rights are protected. Those are basic democratic values which we all stand for, whether it's the national level, at the congressional level, or at the state level. So by standing together with the message from the Senate, Senator Hoffman, Senator Dietzek, and others who joined together to send that resolution, and with the Speaker of the House who represents the House of Minnesota, coming together and sending a message of hope, of inclusion, of a better future is what that resolution stands for.
All right, that's great. So, Mr. Tashite, is there anything you would like to add the content of this resolution and at what extent it touches about the issues of Oromo here and back home? Because it is directly or indirectly connected with us, whether we are living here or somewhere. Because our family is back home. About Hachalu Hundessa, they mentioned on the first statement about Hachalu Hundessa, the dates of Hachalu Hundessa, and there is a thing you guys did so far, especially about House Resolution, which is 128, and same time Senate Resolution, which is 168. So when you see this resolution and the previous resolution, how do you compare and contrast, and what's the weakness and the strong side of this resolution?
Thank you so much, teacher, for this really opportunity to be on this stage. And I'd like to start with just expressing my sincere pain and agony that we, the Oromo people, including myself, who are very close to Hachalu, has gone through, and so many friends of him, so many family members of him, who have still in pain, in tears, and in nightmares, and loss of sleep, loss of thinking, and really composing themselves. And Hachalu means is one might for some might think as one person. He is the whole Oromo for us. He is the voice of the Oromo people, all in the country, at the same time abroad, all over the world. He is the young, vibrant defender of human rights without doing any crime except becoming a voice through entertainment, through music to all of us. And I feel still that pain. That pain is going to live with so many Oromos. Hachalu is a hero for Oromo people. Hachalu is not one person. For many Oromos, Hachalu is not dead. He's going to be alive within us, with us. His voice will burn. His voice will amplify and light us up for generations and generations to come. And that's what I feel. And I am so grateful for Minnesota Senate and Minnesota House of Representatives for standing for human rights, for standing with all people of Ethiopia, particularly the Oromo people who are going under agony right now, to stand with us, to express their condolences, to express their firm stand for human rights, for freedom of speech, for freedom of assembly, for basic human rights. That's what a true democracy, a true representative demands for. And we, as Oromo community, I would like to really thank them for this resolution. And also I would like to thank for the Oromo people in the state of Minnesota who have really stepped up in rallies, in calls, demanding for this to happen and standing by our representatives and our senators for this to happen. And we really appreciate for the young, particularly coming out and really supporting for this to happen. Coming back to really the content of the resolution, I have, for a year, 2 years ago, we have never imagined we go back to 2014, 2015, 2016, what we have gone through. The Oromo people have suffered for many generations, have lost precious lives, and we have progressed in terms of some of the gains that we have taught. 2 years ago, the Oromo people have hoped, and the hope of Oromo people disappeared with the regime right now in power in Ethiopia. Right now, we are back to getting killed, human rights abused, lost our hero in assassinations, and our own resident here, our own citizens are right now languishing in Ethiopian jails. One of the heroes that I would like to, a friend and a hero who has brought change in Ethiopia right now without any criminal activity, for no reason, just for political opinion, for political differences, right now in jail in Ethiopia for 2 months. Jawar Mohammed hasn't done any crime. If anybody listened to the message that Jawar stood for all over the world, all over the world, wherever he has gone. He spoke. He defended for human rights. He spoke not only for Oromo, for everybody. He doesn't deserve by some group to go against character assassination for small political gain. So Jawar is right now in prison. And our citizens, Misha Cherry, is right now in prison in Ethiopia. Both of them are residents of the state of Minnesota. So for these residents, our representatives and senators, for them to be a voice, our senators, Senator Amy and Senator Tina, to be a voice is highly, highly appreciated by the Oromo people. And we appreciate a lot. And I know they will do more. I know they won't rest until Jawar and Misha come home. And for that, we really appreciate a lot. That's what I feel. And this resolution is one step. There are many more to come. And we demand all people who listen here, all people who are residents of the state of Minnesota, and all human rights loving people who stands for justice to support and be the voice of the Oromo people for justice, for equality, for human rights, for freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and freedom of press. Thank you.
All right. Before we proceed to our next discussion, I would like to ask you one question, Representative Mohammed Noor. My question is related with the resolution you guys announced it already on different media and the social media. At the same time, you guys are transmitted to the concerned bodies. But here in Minnesota, we call it Little Oromia, which means Oromia Tikko in short. So most of the time, you are highly involved in a gathering where Oromo is gathered for different things, including cultural and political and other issues. But as I mean, residents of Minnesota, especially Oromo, has a question saying that there is a general consulate here in Minnesota, saying that most of the time they raised their questions, they asked many questions, they didn't get anything. But what the people are asking is, we are paying tax, our paying tax or our money goes to the Ethiopian government to support them and these and these others. Actually, this question may be directly or indirectly not related to you, but is there anything you would like to say or recommend about this issue?
Absolutely. I think the issue of the U.S. resources.
I think my video is freeze.
Yes, yours is frozen, but I have had the question clearly. The issue of...
Hello?
I can hear you. I've had the question. Can you hear me? I think your network, because of back to school, it may be frozen a little bit. I can continue to respond to that question by saying that this is a federal issue when it comes to the issue of resources.
Hello?
Yes, so this issue is more about the federal government. And as a state government, we don't make those decisions. We're strongly sending a message for the State Department to really look into this issue. And I know that they recently made some changes because of the access to the water, the Nile, so that they can control, the incident and be able to hold back some of the resources. And that's something I think
I'm hearing now.
that is something which is more of a federal level. As a state level is to support our delegation. We have got a strong delegation who are standing with us. In fact, they stood with the Oromo community during the resolutions that you've just talked about. they will continue to stand with the Oromo community and also all Ethiopians to address the human rights violation and abuses. So it's something that lies with the federal government. So as Brother Tashite just talked about Jawara and Mohammed and also Misha Chiri, those are residents of Minnesota. And our two senators have sent a strong letter to the State Department to act immediately to address their issues and concerns and for justice to be served.
I think we're not hearing Itichas, but I can just add on that if our constituents and people in attendance are hearing us. I think in relation to the support and also the Accountability Act that we need at the federal level, there are a lot of Oromo and
Hello?
brotherly and
I think I'm facing some technical issues. I don't know whether you guys are hearing me or not.
no, it was difficult. Teacher, it was cutting off, and we were not hearing you. Should we go ahead?
I think Tashite, you and I can finalize some of the questions because we know some of the issues that are very important to our communities. So we just talked about the resolution, which is really important. But then we also need to look into the challenges that we're facing right now with COVID-19, because those things impact us directly as Minnesotans. We recently, the governor issued $100 million to support people to pay for their mortgages, for their rent, for their utilities, for their needs in terms of housing. So that's really significant. And I think people need to understand that those resources are meant to support the communities during this pandemic. And what we're encouraging people is to apply. They need to apply by going through the county or even calling 211, which is the United Way, which really helps many individuals and connects them to the programs that exist. We also have the support for the unemployment, the $300 extension, which was recently applied and approved by the federal government when the $600 ended. So this is a temporary gap, which I believe most of the people already received. It's going to end by the end of this month as a total because there isn't enough resources to go around. So this is a federal grant that came in and we applied, and not everybody qualifies. As long as you qualified for $100 from 26 and onwards, you will get the $300 until that resources ends. But you'll still continue to receive your regular unemployment, which is not really significant, which brings us to the issue of the schools reopening. Some people who are staying at home with their kids, who cannot afford childcare, who cannot really leave their kids at home when schools just really opened today. So many kids are going back to school. What others are doing on online distance learning in Minneapolis and St. Paul. They're doing distance learning, and other districts are doing a mix of in-class and also distance learning as a hybrid. Eventually, our goal is to see people going back to the classrooms and doing in-class. So as part of the point of talking about the pandemic, it really has impacted our communities significantly. We've lost a lot of our loved ones, with also so many young people who are out there to protest. I know I did in many times and many places. We need to take advantage of the free testing, which is usually posted almost every week. You don't have to pay for it. It's an easy process. It's to protect ourselves and to protect our loved ones, our seniors. So I encourage the community to take advantage of that program. It happens in different cities, but the bigger one that is being run by the state, we can influence the department to really stand up for the needs. So, and also for the businesses, I'm sure many of you have received the business grant, the 10,000 or whether it's the 35,000. Those are things that we work at the state level to support our communities. We're still fighting for the money to support those who have been burnt down during the civil unrest after the murder of George Floyd. We have got a long way to go. We will keep on fighting for our small businesses. We want people to be recognized for their contributions to the state. That's just in a summary, but people need to know that the pandemic isn't going anywhere quickly. It's our responsibility to ensure that we protect ourselves, we wash our hands, we continue to do social distancing. I know it's really difficult for our communities, but that's really important for us to continue following the Department of Health and also the CDC guidelines.
Thank you so much, Representative. I think that is really very educational, and I think that, you know, when I see it personally, I see the state really has done a lot in terms of, you know, taking early actions. You know, the governor and the legislature, what you all have done, really taking early action has helped every single Minnesotans, you know, because it protects everyone. You know, if you know, the closure, as harmful as it is, but you know, it's needed actions for, you know, otherwise we wouldn't have come back back to, you know, some economic activities, and gradually we're gonna go back. Hopefully we will go back. And I think in the meantime, for people really to take the necessary precaution and take steps and think of not only yourself, your loved ones, your siblings, your grandpa, grandma, your kids. And I think that is very important. The level of education that's gone is, you know, your support in Cedar Riverside area, representative, that is really phenomenal. And as a personal in my field of work, I just would like to express what you have done really to reach out to small businesses, supporting small businesses, helping small businesses. You have done really a great job. And, you know, one of the question I have is maybe for you to speak on till Ticha, you know, comes back, is representative, is given, you know, the background where we come from, and there is no freedom of, you know, political participations, and there is no election processes. There is no, I mean, the government is just a government by dictatorial government who comes to assume power by force. And coming from that, how do you think, you know, why you think our community, the Oromo community, the Somali community, and other all African communities and Latino communities, Asian communities, why is it very important to be engaged in politics? Very important for you to come out, to be counted. You know, maybe you may mention there also about census. You mentioned there about, you know, address about election participation and why it matters.
Let me start by saying this. 10 days. 10 days. We've got 10 days before the presidential election and the election for myself and others starting point. When people think election is going to happen in November, with this pandemic, we never know what's going to happen. So the planning for voting, the participation for you to make a choice is clear. If you want to succeed as a society, as a community, I can tell you, when I sit at the state capitol, when the Senate is run by the Republican, when the House is Democrat, I think somehow we have to compromise. Yes, compromise is great, but making sure that we take care of those who are the least, you know, involved in the political process, the little people who don't have access to wealth, who don't have access to lobbyists, who don't have access to the elected officials. Those are the people who need to be participating the most. Deciding our future ourselves is by giving us that freedom, that right for us to really be able to participate. There are people who sacrifice their lives in the United States for us to have that opportunity. So this year, what I've been telling people, it's one of the most important elections in our lifetime. You've had that statement many times, but this year, it is really the most important election of our lifetime. You will be electing a president. If you're satisfied with what's going on right now with Donald Trump, then vote for him. But if you're not satisfied, which I'm sure you're not, then vote for Biden. If you're satisfied with the status quo, whereby things are not changing, stay at home because nothing will change. We can't keep on complaining. It's for us to show at the polls. I'm a Democrat. I support the Democratic Party in terms of ensuring that it's inclusive. A place whereby I can be respected for my values, for who I am, and I can be included in the conversation. So those are things that we value, that freedom, that opportunity, that we can succeed no matter who you are. I came here as an immigrant, didn't have much knowledge, went to college and had all those opportunities. Those opportunities don't exist anymore. So what I'm encouraging people is 10 days. You'll be electing school board members, such as Jamila Mami, who's phenomenal, who's on the ground in St. Paul, to be elected as a school board member. She's a young Oromo activist who has been involved in the political process. Today, she needs us. We have to stand with her. We have to provide her with the resources. We have to provide her the moral support that she needs at this point to get her through to the finish line. Work with her, contribute to her campaigns. It takes a whole village to get somebody elected. And that's what we need to be doing to get everybody to participate in the voting. If you haven't requested your ballot in the mail, you can do so right now. From your phone, from your computer, you can go to mnvotes.org. There are great candidates who are running throughout the state. Make sure that you vote for those candidates. Make sure you vote for your city council. Those all levels of government, the local levels, your state representative, your senators who are now in election process need your support. Tina Smith is also running as a US senator. Ilhan Omar is also running in the general election. I am also going to be on the ballot. So that means many people who are depending on you, and you're going to be depending on them to make sure that we address the COVID-19 right now, the pandemic, which has not been handled well. Provide the financial support that we need for our families to thrive. Sooner or later, once the emergency powers end from the governor, people will be evicted from their homes. The economy isn't recovering quickly. We want protections for those who need the most. And the government is the time for us to step up. If you don't take that action, you have got no one else to blame but blame ourselves. If you blame yourselves for not participating, for not ensuring that you vote, no matter where you are in the United States, make sure you are registered to vote. Make sure you vote by mail if you want to. That's the best opportunity we have. Vote earlier on. Don't wait for November 3rd, because that's the opportunity that you have. We know that the mail system, there's so many issues going with the US mail. Follow up on your ballot from the day that you applied to the day that you send it back to the day it's counted, because you want to make sure that your ballot is counted. And we're here to help you. We want your help because everybody matters here. You matter. Everyone needs help. For those who are asking for help, for the arrieros, for the senior people, for everybody, for the families who feel this is not for them, this year it is for them. It's for us to decide our future. And that's what we want, the democracy to work. People have to participate. In many places, we're not given that opportunity. Right here, we have that freedom. One man, one vote. You decide your future. It's up to all of us. to turn out in this election cycle?
Back to you, teacher. Are you there?
Guys, can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, I think.
Hello?
I think the teacher's microphone is having.
Guys, I don't know. I've been facing difficulty.
So I know, Tashite, you asked me also another good question. You asked me about. We can, but we wanted to finalize some of the other pieces because I think you're struggling with your network, and it's giving you a hard time to log in. So to move ahead, I wanted to touch a little bit about what Tashite just mentioned about census. The census is done every 10 years once. That means this year, in the next 20 days, those 20 days are the ones which we need to be counted. And our community hasn't been counted yet completely. What does that mean, to be counted? Doesn't the government have our information? We know that those are the questions many people are asking, but no. This is for you to be determined to that you exist, that you're valued, that you reflect the community that you live in. If 10 people are living in a place, in 10 years, those 10 people will contribute 28,000 based on their portion that we get from the federal government. It determines our housing, our health care. The functional part of the government is to make sure that people are counted. And then that count, we're using it to determine the education, the healthcare, the economic support. All those things are interconnected. If we don't get counted, the housing support that we're getting, the healthcare support that we're getting, for us to be seen when people look at the numbers, not to say that there's only 10,000 Oromos in the state of Minnesota, not to say that there's only 35,000. We want you to register yourself and make sure that you count everybody in the household. It doesn't matter who else lives with you. The count is one of the most important process that happens every 10 years, and there's a good reason for that. I want you to participate. Go to census.gov. If you have not gone there, please make sure that you are counted. It takes less than a few minutes. It doesn't take a long time. Please, I'm asking you, if you can help others, this is the moment. I'm asking for that favor from you to help other families to participate in the census. Call your friends, call your family members, call those who are right surrounding you that you know. Send a text to your groups, because we only have few days left before this is shut down. I know there's a hearing going on at the federal level. There's an injunction so that it doesn't end by the end of this month. But all those things don't count. The counting has to be done now, and we only have the end of this month to make sure that everybody's counted.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Representative. I just want to add on 2 points and then maybe pose one question to you, Representative. One is, how election is local, but the impact of it is worldwide. Look, the election here, the representative, the Minnesota House of Representatives and Minnesota Senate is issuing a resolution for Oromo people to have a basic human rights in their own motherland. Where right now, during COVID, during COVID, more than 10,000 youths are in prison in Ethiopia for no wrongdoing. And then they are getting exposed to COVID. And the COVID supposedly, obviously, it takes me to Ethiopia. So, how much really the politics here or the participation in election here have an impact on what we would like to voice for in Ethiopia, to be a voice for the voiceless, for people who have no right to exercise their basic freedom to elect somebody who represents them. So I really encourage citizens, those eligible to vote in the state of Minnesota, to vote and vote within 10 days. You don't have to wait till November 3rd. Vote because it matters. Vote, somebody you are aligned with, somebody who supports your cause, who knows, who responds to your needs, and vote your conscience and participate in the election process. And I encourage the Oromo people who listen here or wherever all over the world, participate, be a voice like you have been for last many years, and increasingly you have been really becoming a voice for your own people. And the other thing is I would like to about census. Census is very, very important. It's very important. It determines next 10 years, not only the resources that comes from federal government to us, but it also determines the number of U.S. House of Representatives seats that a state could have. And if we become, we live here, if we don't get counted and we get short by, a certain number of population, we will not be getting the resources and the support, the share of our state share from the federal government. Basically, let me put that way, our share. So I think it is very, very important that those of you who listen to this media and who also, get this message to spread out, to be part of it. There are 20 days left. And in these 20 days, you need to be counted. You need to express your count. And one thing that a teacher was asking earlier is that when you get counted, there are so many options. You can mark any option that's relevant to you. But if you are Oromo, you can say Oromo, there is an area that you can mark. If you are Somali, you can indicate Somali. There's areas where you can mark and you can indicate. But the key thing is you need to be counted. And being counted is very, very important for our people. And Representative, one thing that I would like to, ask you is that, how our people, going back again to that engagement of, the political process, and particularly for the young, aspiring people who like to run for office, like me, somebody who want to be running for office one day, who knows, or any other young people who are in the university right now or in college who would like to see what the government operation looks like, either by becoming an intern or by volunteer or by volunteering in your office, so many other offices. What is it that they should do, or anything that they should be engaged, either door knocking or in campaign or in activities? How and you think they should participate in those?
It's a good question. When you look at the participation from the Oromo community in terms of elected officials and supporting community members to move ahead, it takes the whole community. If you don't organize as a one unit, if you don't provide that support to that individual, it's really, really difficult for that person to see themselves in a place where they represent their community. So I urge you to start looking into that. Jamila Mame is one of them. She needs financial support. She needs moral support. She needs boots on the ground. She needs people to be calling. This year, we've got a pandemic. Most of the election is done through the call process. I'm excited to see so many young Oromo Guerrero who are now on the front lines of the political process, who are engaged in energizing and mobilizing and activating the community. It's something which I think some people, it's difficult for them to see themselves there. But that's a starting point. By working in political campaigns, starting as a volunteer, to know what does it take to engage the community? What does it take to encourage somebody to vote in a political process? What does it take to see how the office is run? After that, when those individuals that you've been working with, you may never know who will call you, because you may get the opportunity to work in their offices, to become their legislative assistant, whether it's the federal level, the state level, the city level, because all those things are interconnected. By having somebody who is well-versed about the political process, well-versed in the policy issues, because it's not only about politics, it's not about the voting, it's about the policies. You know, when we talk about creating an opportunity to become homeowners, because our community really needs to have a champion who's going to be bringing the resources. But for that to happen, somebody has got to write the policy. Somebody has got to be supporting that idea. That idea needs an intern. That idea needs somebody who is interested to see that change. And if that is you as an individual, start with the political process right now. People are organizing from the presidential level to the school board, to the city council, to the state, to the Senate. All those individuals who are running are asking for support, whether you want to volunteer or even as a paid intern. All those things happen. But if you don't ask, if you don't join, if you don't participate, those opportunities will never go anywhere. So part of my promise to you is I've been engaging many young people and telling them, contact me. My information is public. If you go to my website or even my Facebook and tell me that you're willing to help get that exposure to the process, I'm willing to walk you through that whole process. And sooner or later, although we're in the pandemic, we will start classes for engaging the young people to learn the civic engagement, to learn how to become more involved, more engaged, and more to see themselves in places that they've never imagined. So many of us never imagined we'll be sitting in the seat, but today we're there. We want that next generation of leaders, and that next generation of leaders, it's you, and that's the person that we are asking you to join all of us so that we can see a better future for our kids, for our families, for our communities, for the workers, and for everybody in our state, in our city, in our schools.
Finally, I'm back. I beg you and apologize for the technical errors I faced. Thank you very much, Mr. Tashite. At the same time, Representative Mohammed Noor. I know Mr. Tashite has been hosting properly and he became a journalist today. That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Tashite. Sorry, I beg and apologize our viewers for my technical issues at all. It's my first time to face. I think it's maybe it doesn't like my English. Maybe that could be a reason. But let's proceed to our final discussion. I think you have been talking about COVID-19, about unemployment, at the same time about housing and the others. I think so, but I try to watch on my phone. The thing is okay, but I've been facing technical issues. If I interrupt you again, I beg you and apologize for a second time. But before we are going to wrap up, I would like to ask you, Representative Mohammed Noor, you guys, as our brothers and sisters, Somali brothers and sisters, you guys are doing a wonderful thing. I mean, you have mentioned that there is a Jamila Mamme who is running for a school board in Simple, but the awareness our people is not as such very high. I mean, what's the importance of involving in politics and the others? So I think you emphasized on that one and you pointed out your remark, but before we are going to conclude our interview, is there anything you more give a special emphasis saying that we Oromo, we are saying this is little Oromia, as I said before, Oromia Tiko, to say that if we have a representative in a state, if we have a representative in city council, they can advocate for our people because we have many parents. Our people are dying back home for asking for their human rights without making any kinds of mistakes. But this and the others can be a headache and a painful for us. So I like the issue Jamila mentioned, especially I'm a one who know our pain. I'm a one who know how our people are suffering in disasters. So that's the thing. So you Somali guys are exemplary for us, a role model for us. We Oromo, there are things we have to share from you. Would you tell us a little bit your experience, how you started involving in politics, and now you are representative of state of Minnesota among few individuals or higher governmental officials? So will you tell us a little bit when you were at high school, at elementary and others, and that could be inspire our young generation like Mr-Tashite skills and the other fellow friends?
Teacher, thank you so much for that question. Let me paraphrase this. There's nothing called Oromio Tiko. It's Oromio Guda. So I want to be able to say that it's not the small. We have got the significant presence here. And quite frankly, I'm not only a part of the Somali community. I do have a background as being as a grandson of from Negele Borana. So at least I have that connection. I want people to understand it's not based on your background. It's how you put yourself forward. No matter where you come from, who you look like, if you have the energy, if you have the ambitions, if you have a future that you want to fight for, it's for you to step in. I served in many boards whereby I served as a volunteer. I worked 3 jobs while I was going to school, and also engaging people at the school level. Even before coming here as a person who was helping others fulfill their future, making sure that I can help and engage them. That understanding, it's not only about politics, it's about people. When you know the needs of the people, when you know that you can advocate for them, when you know that you can make a difference. People need to understand it's not about a position, it's about leadership, it's about a vision that you see, that you can advocate for, that you can touch. You can have many elected officials, but if they don't see themselves as leaders who can bring their people to the next level, it doesn't make any difference. You need somebody who has got a future vision, somebody who can hold people and tell them this is where we're going today. Because whether we fail or succeed is determined by our collective power. Our collective power is when you have 10, 20 people who are coming together to decide where they want to go, to decide their future. They can make a difference no matter who they are. So one thing that I want to tell people is take the small risks, run for school board. Jamila has stepped up. What she's asking from us is to provide her with the support. I know we all failed to do that, including myself, to uplift the young people and tell them you are going to the next level, to provide them that moral support. And I think that is what carried me. And Tashite will tell you this. I can write a whole book, that persistency, by saying that we can do it. Several times I failed, but I never gave up. The reason why I never gave up is my voice was needed to support the community. With my knowledge that I gained working at the state level, working at the county, getting involved in local politics to understand what the value of having a representative, what's the value of having somebody that you'll go to and speak in your native language, somebody who understands you, as you've already articulated about. Those are things that make a difference. You're bringing a voice that is missing at the table. Those are things that never happen without looking outwardly. So what I'm encouraging people to say is, no matter how difficult the journey will be, the success is coming. But your support, whether it's the moral value, the financial support, the door knocking, the calls. If I don't see people going to support Jamila Mohammed, then I'll say people are not interested to make a difference, because that's what we're fighting for. The robust, the protest, and all those things that I see on the streets. You need to convert those into a positive energy to bring the change that you want to see. You have to be that change yourself. And that's where we live with everybody. Ask yourselves, are you making a difference? Are you helping others to make the difference? That's the homework for all of us. And that's what we need to answer.
All right, great. So before we are going to wrap up or wind up our today's discussion, we will continue in the near future as well in the same way. So I think my issue will be solved in the future. So, before we are going to wrap up, you are running for the next election as well. there is a thing or there is a message you want to convey. Before that, if Mr. Tashite has a question for you, I think our time is over, but I have a question for you as well, Representative Mohammed Noor. I mean, you are telling us about Jamila Mamme, who is running for school board in Simple. She is a role model for us, I can say, from Oromo community. But what kind of support are needed for her? Because we don't have an experience here. Our people consider themselves as a language birds and the others most of the time. But no matter what, vote matters, as you said. You know, vote matters. That means if everybody who's living in Simple vote for her, at the same time, those of them are not qualified for vote like me, new for this country, they can support her financially or advocating for her, speaking on the behalf of her, something like that one. But before that, I will conclude my question. So what's your message lastly or finally?
My final message is vote, 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 because your life and our lives depend on it. I think when you hear about candidates needing support, they need financial support. Be it $5. You know, when people think about that financial support, it's not huge. If you can provide $5, do so. If you can provide $25, it's even better. $50 as a state representative, I'm also running for election. So there's a program called PCR, which I think many people still I'm going to be sending their receipts. Is when you donate $50, you get that money back. It shows your value that you invested in that individual. When you vote for that person, you're showing them that you want them to succeed. You're invested in that individual. So what I'm going to end with is your vote matters. So make sure that you're counted. Make sure that you vote in this election cycle starting in 10 days. And if you want to help somebody, make sure that you call them and tell them, what can I do for you? The minimum you can provide will help them reach their goals. And that's what counts. It's not about the winning. It's about people showing support for that individual.
All right, great. Mr. Tashite, going to wrap up our discussion in Afan Oromo. It is summary what you said in general. Before that one, I do have Somali audiences as well. So can you say something about your coming election in Somali? And just you are going to say bye-bye to everybody.
walaalayaal waxaan ahay xildhibaan Mohammed Noor waxaan ku jirnaa xilliga doorashada waxaa ka dhiman 10 casho 10kaas cashana waa muhiim qof walba maaragtay muwaadin ah oo codkiisa haysto inuu codeeyo anaa kamid ah musharaxiinta tartamayo madaxweynihii baa la dooranayaa fadlan doorashadan sanadkan waa mid muhiim ah codkaada loo baahan yahay qof walba musharax maaragtay tartamayo codkiina u baahan yahay codkiina qiimo weyn buu ku fadhiyaa codeeya waa mahadsantiin.
All right, thank you very much for your time and discussing the issues and sharing your experience and about the resolution as well. Thank you very much for standing for with Oromo people here and back home, especially about human rights violation and the democratic system in our country, which is the government is killing our innocent people without any kinds of crime and a mistake at all. Thank you very much, Representative Mohammed Noor.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, obbo Tashite mga gutummaatti wanta ka'aa ture nuuf kaaseera muuxannoo isaallee nuuf qoodeera mee ati akka keette egaa waanuma guutummaatti jiru na of kolchaa daawwattoonni keenya warreen nu daawwachaa turtanii tasuma ispiikerii kootu gara zuumiina jalaa deeme kanaaf innillee argateera rakkoon ishees akka taate so kanaaf dhiifaman isaan gaafadhaa akka guutummaatti garuu waan namni kun nuuf kaasan keessaatu jira keessumaa waa'ee Jamila akka fakkeenyaatti fudhatanii gaaffilee murteessoo kaastaniitu waa'ee COVID-19 illee waa'ee mana barnootaa kanallee waan hedduu tuttuqxaniitu waa'ee gama dinagdee illee mee deeggaruu akka qabnu xumsuu akka qabnudha kan ripireezentaatiin Mohammed Noor kaasaatti ture mee guutummaatti dhaamsa maalii dabarsanii afaan Oromoodhaan mee nutti himame anumtuu parshaaliin isin dhaga'aatti ture sababa teeknikni baay'een rakkisaa tureef baay'een of kolchaa maali.
Nooma miti leeticha baay'ee galatoomii guddaa galatoomii wanti Mohammed Noor waliin afaan Ingiliffaatiin dubbataatiin turre tokko filannoon bakka bu'ootaa lookaal yookiin ammoo akka naannoo jireenya keenyaatti naannoo jiraannuutitti filannaa garuu bu'aan isaa hanga addunyaatitti bu'aa guddaa buusuu danda'a. Fakkeenyaaf manni maree mootummaa state Minnesota asii akkasumas manni seneteerataa resolutionii amma qara mul'isaatiin turre kana yeroo dabarsanii hanga biyyaatitti ummata keenyaaf sagalee ta'uu danda'a. Kanaaf ummanni keenya ummanni Oromoo state Minnesota keessa jiraannu ka vootii godhuu dandeenyu hundinuu vootii godhuu nu barbaachisa. Qooda fudhachuu nu barbaachisa. Vootii keessatti of arguu nu barbaachisa. Kana godhuuf ammoo guyyaa 18 irraa eegaltanii hadharraa guyyaa 10 jechuudha. 18 miti 10 guyyaa 10 booda gaafa fulbaana 18 irraa eegaltanii vootii godhuu dandeettanii hanga guyyaa Noovembarii 3tti eeguyyuu isin barbaachisu. Kanaaf kanarratti qooda fudhachuun baay'ee barbaachisaadha ka jedhu inni kun ammoo lakkoofsa. Lakkoofsi yookiin census lakkoofsi baay'ee barbaachisaadha. Lakkoofsi baajata qooda mootummaan federaalaa irraa argatu murteessaa. Lakkoofsi ummata bakka bu'oota federaala keessatti bakka bu'aniitiin mootummaa keessa jiraatan akka murteeffamu godha. Fakkeenyaaf steenni Minnesota bakka bu'oota mana maree mootummaa Ameerikaa barcuma 8 qaba. 8 qaba jechuudha. Akka lakkoofsa ummataatiin kun kan murtaa'u. Yoo nuti hin lakkaa'amne ta'e baajanni federaala irraa dhufullee gargaarsi mootummaa irraa dhufullee diqqaataa dhufaa jechuudha. Haalli jireenyaa haalli fakkeenyaaf karaa tolchuu waan adda addaa tolchuu kun hundinuu miidhamuu danda'a jechuudha lakkoofsa sanirraa kaka'een. Kanaaf ummanni keenya hundinuu kun vootii waan walii hidhatee miti lakkaa'amuuni an as jira anini hin jira jedhaniitiin of himuu waan ta'uufi kanaaf ummanni keenya yoo hin lakkaa'amne hanga ammaa hin lakkaa'amne guyyaa 20 hafan kana keessatti lakkaa'amuu akka qabu lakkoofsi kun ammoo barbaachisaa akka ta'e. Ani kanarratti illee dabaleetiin cimsuu ka barbaadu ummanni keenya waanuma addunyaarra akkuma beektan addunyaarra facaanee jirra akka Oromootitti addunyaa guutuurra facaaneetiin jirra. Kun ammoo haala diraaf ajjechaa fi saamicha biyya keenya keessatti nurratti raawwataa ture irraan akkasitti adda facaane. Faca'iinsi kun ammoo ummata keenyaaf bu'aa buusuu danda'uu qaba. Kanaaf jecha gara dhumaa irratti inni jedhe san baay'ee gurra na seene. Maaliif success and winning is coming. Ummanni Oromoo abadan hin mo'ataa biyya isaa irratti ol jedhee akkuma saba kamiyyuu addunyaa kanarratti hin jiraata. Ka amma mul'atu kun hundinuu hin darbu. Waa malee miti addunyaarra ka facaaneef jechuudha. Bakka kanatti hin deebina jenneetiin nuuf hin eenne kanaaf ummanni keenya ammallee gurmaa'inaan biyyuma jiru keessatti siyaasaa keessa qooda fudhachuu danda'uu qaba. Awurooppaa keessatti, Awustiraaliyaa keessatti, Kanaadaa keessatti, Saawuz Afrikaa keessatti, Keeniyaa keessatti bakka jiru hundattiyyuu bakka Oromoon jiru hundattiyyuu haala mirgi biyya sanii nuu kennu keessatti qooda fudhannee keessatti argamuu nu barbaachisaa ka jedhu itti dabaluu barbaada. Inni kuni waa'ee sensasii waa'ee COVID-19. Waa'ee COVID-19 ilaalchiseeti steenni Minnesota tattaaffii guddaa godhee jira. Warra daldaltoota bira dhaabachuun namoota gargaaruun amma naannoo Henepiniitti namoonni galanii waa'ee kafaltii manaa akka irraa bahu yoo barbaadanii lakkoofsa 2 tokko kana dubbisuun gargaarsa gaafachuu danda'anii afaan Oromootiin illee hin jira kanaaf gaafachuu qabanii hanga governorin state Minnesota state of emergency yookiin ammoo haala COVID kanaan ka'eetiin murtee akkasii dabarse kana jirutti namni gargaaramuu danda'a. Kanaaf gargaarsa kana argachuu fi namni qooda fudhachuu bilbiluu yoo ammoo gargaarsa hin arganne Mohammed Noor mataa isaa bilbila mataa isaa bilbiluu warra mayor office bilbiluu namni keenya walirraa illee ammoo walitti illee bilbilaatiin ati maal beekta waan kanarraa rakkoo akkanaa keessa jira rakkoo kana akkamitti hiikkachuu danda'a jedhanii wal gargaaruun waldaa hawaasa Oromoo dubbisuun bilbiluun baay'ee barbaachisa jechuudha. Keessaayyuu Minnesota fi naannoo isii Oromoon galan hundaayyuu. Inni kuni waa'ee namoota filannoo fiigaatiin jiraniif. Uummanni keenya yeroo ammaa kana ofiillee itti dabaluu ka barbaadu vootii irra qooda fudhachuun barbaachisaadha. Vootiin keenya ammoo bilaasha ta'uu hin qabu. Ka cadhiseetuma vootii deemneetiin vootii goonu abbaa kennineef illee yookiin garii hin beeknu, abbaan kenninuuf sun illee maal akka nu godhe hin beeknu, vootima qofaaf dhandheetiin paartisipeetii goona. Nama nu bira dhaabatee vootii godha. Nama koozii kennaaf, nama gaafa nu barbaannu sagalee uummata kennaaf ta'e, nama haqaaf dhaabate, nama dhugaaf dhaabate. Nu sagalee nu ta'a jennee addunyaa irratti yeroo gaafan, sadarkaa federaalaatitti yeroo gaafan, sadarkaa isteetaatti yeroo gaafan, nama biraa miina jenneetii miti. Haqa kenna deeffanna jenneeti. Haqa abbootiin kenna, akaakayyuun kenna, adda ammoo qeerroon irra du'aatiin jiruu fi tumsaa fi sagalee akka ta'an, taayitaa fi aangoo qabaniin akka uummata keenya biraa dhaabatan gaafataatiin jirra. Kanaaf yaphootii kasiniin jedhu. Senator John Hoffman, Senator Kerry warra adda resolutionii kana bu'uureessanii akka bahu godhan. Speaker Melissa Brooklyn Park warri galtan. Akkasumas ammoo kaawwan illee itti dhiyaadhaa naannoo jirtanitti. Tan qofaa miti sadarkaa seneetii fi haawusii warra jiran qofaa miti. Warra meerii ta'anillee, city council ta'anillee, kanniin illee bira dhiyaattanii itti dubbachuu danda'uu qabdan. Achirraa jalqaba wanti hundinuu. Kanaaf kana haa hojjennu jenna. Ergaan tokko ammoo namoota keessaayyuu sabaaf sablammii akkasumas ammoo keessaayyuu karaa Afrikaa irraa bahaniitiin dantaa olaantummaa abbootii taayitaa tissuu fi character assassination waan jedhamu kana bifa biraatitti saba haqaaf deemu, saba haqa isaa gaafatu bifa biraatitti hiikuuf deemu dammaqinnaan irraa of eeguun nu barbaachisa. Dammaqinnaan of eeguun. Kana ka goonu ammoo yoo qooda fudhanneetiin jenna. Laala yeroo jarri kun dhufaniitiin Oromoo bira dhaabatanii maaf Oromoo bira dhaabataniif ka itti duulu baay'eedha. Yeroo Ilahaan Umar dhufteetiin Oromoo bira dhuftu isii irratti warri duulu baay'eedha. Haqaaf maaf dhaabatteedhaaf warri cubbuudhaan, dharaan, saamichaan jireenya isaanii godhatanii yeroo dheeraa turanii amalli isaanii kanuma jechuudha. Kanaaf kana irra aanuuf ammoo nullee tumsa taanee dhaabachuu qabna. Dargaggoota keenya bira dhaabachuu qabna. Ummata Oromoo yeroo ammaa miidhamaatiin jiru bira dhaabachuu qabna. Walquba qabaachuu qabna. Tokkichummaa humna ka jedhu kunini Oromoo keessatti akkuma dagaagaatiin dhufe kana ammallee dagaagee itti fufuu danda'uu qaba. Akkuma reprezentaatiin Mohammed Noor jedhe rakkoon hundinuu gara waa tokkootiin nu geessa. Yeroo rakkoon dhufu ijjachuu qabda. Fakkeenyaaf jireenya isaa irraa nutti hime yeroo baay'ee kufee jedhe yeroo baay'ee hin dhiisne jedhe ittuma deebi'e booda mo'atee bakka kana seena. Kanaaf uummanni Oromoo illee abdiin kutachuu takkallee jiraachuu hin qabu. Takkallee. Maaliif akkuma bubbuluun haqa kennatti haqa baasuudhaaf haqa Hacaaluu Hundeessaa baasuudhaaf haqa Oromoota hagadhaa dhumatanii karaa qajeelaan sirnaan baasuudhaaf karaarra waan jirruuf Oromoon karaarra waan jiruuf kanaaf ammoo wantummaan cinqamnu tokkollee hin jiru jedhee itti dabaluu barbaada. Warra kana nu qopheessaniin illee galatoomaa jenneetiin jirra. Keessaayyuu waldaa hawaasaa
waan amma kaastan irratti keessumaa egaa isin qabiyyee keessatti dubbachuullee dhiisuullee maltu garuu akka Oromootti waan nu ilaallatu tokkotu jira dhimma 2020 seensisii kana keessatti. Ammallee egaa daawwattoota keenya baay'ee naaf kolchaan jedha. Maaliif baay'ee deebi'ee seenuudhaaf nan rakkadhee garuu baay'ee gargaarsa guddaadha kan isin gootanii maree fruitful ta'edha kan isin gochaa turtanii. Baay'ee namatti tolaa gaaffii Oromoon illee akka Oromootti baruu qabullee waan baay'ee kaastaniittu. Haa ta'u egaa bilbila koorraa gatee ilaaluudhaaf yaaleera garuu teeknika sana furuuttan dhiphadhe sanas baay'ee hin caqasne garuu waa'ee Jamiilaa kana irra deddeebi'anii waan dubbatan natti fakkaata ripireezentaatiiviin kun yoo maqaa tokko dhaga'aatti ture jechuudha. Mee namoonni keenya biyya kana yoo fudhanne waa'ee 2020 US Census kana yoo fudhanne kaawwanii kanneen akka Oromootti lakkaawamuu jedhu tokko jira. Kaawwan immoo akka Itoophiyaatti kan jedhutu jira. Nun immoo biyya kana keessatti yoo fudhanne bilbilaan illee kaasneerraa aniifati afaan Oromoon akka heneppeen kaawunii kanatti afaan shanaffaarra jiru akka ta'e illee eerumsa naaf kennitee ture. Waajjiraalee garaagaraa keessatti immoo afaan Oromoo baay'ee hin agarru iddoo muraasatti malee interpreeteriin dhufa malee dhaabbatichumti sun yookiis waajjirri sun ofiisaa translate godhee hin agarru. Amma ni hojii man MDH waliin hojjedhu iyyuu qaba. Kan keenya ganaa fuudheen translation isaa hojjedhu. Kan warra kaanii garuu kan warra Moongii, kan warra Ispaanishii, kan warra Somaaliif afaan Ingiliffaa afaan isaaniitiin jira. Sanuma miidiyaa isaanii irratti share godhuu jechuudha. Kan keenya garuu ganaa foormaatii sanatti jijjiiramee ganaa waan meeqa hojjechuun isaa al tokko tokko yookuma foormaatii isaa malee fayyadamu faan na mudatan aniyyuu. Mee kana faana wal qabsiisee namoonni keenya Jamilaa waliin akka dhaabbatani dhimma Oromoof Itoophiyaadhaan lakkaa'amuu jedhu kanarrattis recommendation keessan gabaabsanaa kennaati. Yeroo biroo egaa Jaan Haafmaan seneetara sanallee qabannee Mohammed Noor illee qabannee yeroo biroo walitti deebina.
Baay'ee galatoome ticha baay'ee gaafii baay'ee bareeda. Jamilaa Maammee duraan dursee Jamilaan yeroo dheeraadhaaf waa'ee uummata Oromoo akka baratamu akka hubatamu of kennuudhaan filannoo irratti qooda fudhachuudhaan yeroo baay'ee qooda fudhatteetiin jirti. Suuraa amma mul'iste kana keessatti waan raawwatamu irratti sagaleen Oromoo du'achi keessa jiraate sagaleen Oromoo afaan Oromoon dubbatu dhimma Oromoo marii irratti kafidu achi keessa oduu jiraate afaan Oromoo akkuma afaanota biraatti ta'aa jechuudha. Baajanni afaan Oromoo bahu akkuma afaanota biraatti ta'aa jechuudha. Kanaaf baay'inni keenya biyya kana keessatti fakkeenyaaf amma waggaa dheeraa laakkaateetiin jira. Fakkeenyaaf baay'inna keenya gara 40,045 akkas jenneetiin himna. Oromoon as magaalaa Minneapolis St. Paul qofaa miti ka jiru bakka hundarra jira. Kanaaf sagalee achi keessatti qabaachuun barcumaa sanniin irra keessatti bakka marii san keessatti qabaachuun baay'ee murteessaadha. Akkuma argitan Jamilaan yeroo baay'ee volunteer godhuun amma kasirratti argite Barni Sanders volunteer godhuun ummanni keenya akka humnoomu akka beekamu nuuyyuu bakka tokko seenuu dandeenyee akka haasofnu yaada keenya akka ibsachuu dandeenyu kan godhe Jamilaadha. Kanaaf ummanni keenya Jamilaa bira dhaabachuun dirqama. Oduu isiinuu hin gaafanne ummanni Oromoo magaalaa lakkuu keessa galtan hundinuu waamtanii akka yeroo baay'ee isiniin jedhaatiin ture qarshii guddaa kennuu necessarily isin hin barbaachisu. Qarshii ka dandeettan haga dandeettii keessanii kennitanii bira dhaabachuu. Jamilaa bilbiluun maal godha? Ani naannoo sanitti maatii jiru hin waama. Ani hiriyaa qabu hin waama. An kanan godha. Waan isin bakka san akka seentu isii gargaaraa hunda godhuudhaan bira dhaabachuu dirqama kennaa jechuudha. Kun dirqama. Oromoodhaaf dirqama ta'uu qaba. Maaliifi afaan keenya achi keessa akka argamu yoo barbaanne namni keenya hojii gahee isaaf malu akka argatu yoo barbaanne namni keenya bakka barcumaa adda addaa irratti akka muudamu yoo barbaanne kan warra ollaa keenyaa qofa irratti ilaaluu miti akka muudamu yoo barbaanne harka keenya jiraa jechuudha. Wanti hundinuu harka keenya jiraa jechuudha. Waan harka keenya jiru sana ammoo bakka tokko finnee bifa tokkooni raawwachiifnu jechuu barbaada. Jamilaa bira volunteer godhuun guyyaa isiin barbaaddee door knock waan jedhamu kana jira balbala irra deemanii dhaa'uudhaan bira dhaabachuudhaan feesbuukii isii irratti argitee akka waa'een isii akka faca'u godhuudhaan mee kanarraa haa jalqabnu. This is a test for Oromoo jechuudha. Testiin kunin waggaa amma ji'a tokkoof walakkaa hafe kana keessatti ummanni Oromoo kana fiixa baasuu danda'uu qaba. Inni kun ammoo ijoolleen yuunivarsiitii keessa jirtan, kolleejii keessa jirtan, bakka adda addaa keessa jirtan karaa kanarra deemuu ka barbaadan akkuma Mohammed Noor jedhe Mohammed Nooriin dubbisa bira gahaa. Badhinnaan yeroo biraa akkuma obbo Itichaan waadaa nuuf galee jirutti dhimma civic engagement biyya kana keessa qooda fudhachuu ka jedhu kana akkamitti inni kunin ammoo biyya keenyaan nu fayyada jedhu kana irratti walitti deebineetiin irraa dubbachuu deemna. Walgahiilee adda addaa ka magaalaa kana raawwatamu keessatti ka Oromoo ka raawwatamu keessatti illee qooda fudhadhaa. kottaa tokkichummaan yoo dhaabanne humna taana tokkichummaa yoo dhaabanne rakkoo yeroo dheeraaf nurra ture kana ka gara qacceetis siqeetiin jiru kana ofirraa diiguu dandeenya kana isiniin jechuu barbaada bakkuma jirtanitti waa tokko qofatti dabalee magaalaa jirtan keessatti fakkeenyaaf volunteerism jira argitee magaalaa jirtan keessatti City of Brooklyn Park yoo ta'e fakkeenyaaf komishin ta'uu hin dandeettan keessa qooda fudhachuu hin dandeettan dhaxxaniitiin gaafa City Council meetingin jiraatu yaada kennuu hin dandeettan an Oromoodha magaalaa kana jiraadha waan barbaachisuun qooda fudhachuu barbaade jettaniitu mallee bu'uu dandeettan this is different akka biyya irraa dhufneetii miti kuni mootummaa ummataaf dhaabate kanaafi kanarratti qooda fudhachuun namoonni bakka tokkotti City Council keessatti bakka adda addaatti commissioner ta'uuni akkasumas volunteer ta'uun poolisii keessa bakka adda addaatti qooda fudhatan Oromoonni galatoomaa jechuu barbaanna maaliif isin namni tokko sun nama 10 nama 100 bakka bu'eetiin achi jira jechuudha kana yoo gooneetiin jenne jijjiirraa barbaachisu fiduu dandeenya addaaf asumarratti yoo gabaabse gaariidha obboticha baay'ee guddaa galatoom
tole ulfaan Mr-Tashite Wako ayyeen daawwattoota keenyaa egaa turtii waliin taasisaatti kan turre egaa afaanuma biyya kanaan tokko lama jennee eegallee afaan biyya kanaa immoo tarii egaa sooftiweeriin isaan darbate kanaaf an gidduutti ba'e egaa Mr-Tashiteen immoo waan biyya kanaa bareechanii beeku waan ta'eef isaanitti turanii haa ta'u egaa yeroo biroo qophii biroodhaan walitti deebinaa garuu namoonni keenya kallattiidhaanis ta'e kallattiidhaan dorgomaatti kan jirtu Jamiilaa Maammee waliin hiriiruudhaan gama dinagdee akkasuma immoo gama balbala rukutuudhaan namoonni akka filataniif waa'ee Oromoof Oromiyaa beeksisaa kan jedhu egaa raashiis taane rakkoon teknikaas baay'ee na mudate malee viidiyoo ishee yeroo darbe dubbatte tokkotu jira kan hin dura ripireezentaatiif Mohammed Noor gaafadhe keessumaa waan isheen kaaste keessaa quuqqaa Oromoo miidhaa Oromoo natu dubbachuu danda'a naati ol namni dubbachuu hin danda'u kanaaf ana filadhaa na waliin fiigaadha kan jette isheen matumaayyuu waliin fiigna malee koottaa waliin dorgomna kan jedhudha kan kaaste kanaaf hundi keenya iyyuu roga dandeenyaan biraa dhaabbanuun aamsa kootii yeroo biroo qophii biroodhaan Senator John Huffman haaluma wal fakkaatuun Mohammed Nooriif warreen biroo dabalannee sa'aatii yeroo wal fakkaataatti qabannee isinii dhiyaana Mr-Tashite Wako pirezidaantii waldaa hawaasa Oromoo duraanii kan ta'anii fi amma immoo Brooklyn Parkiitti komishinera gama dinagdee kan ta'anii guddaa galatoomaa ulfaadhaa yeroo keessaniif Mr-Tashite.
Baay'ee galatoome obboticha Mohammed baay'ee galatoome.